Están tirando balazos al de Primera Plus, los de la camioneta gris. Ahí están, miren. Están los balazos con todo, Miren. Están queriendo abrir el Primera Plus, le están tirando balazos. Ya lo bajaron. Y ahí vienen.
Ven, mira, ven. ¿Quieres ver?
No, ya les van a caer. Cuando se les haga, mira, atrás hay lumbre.
Míralo, mira, en la placa. Mira. Ese de abajo, mira. Todos esos vatos traen, mira. Mira, el del taxi. Todos esos vatos traen, mira. Mira, el del taxi. Súbete, cabrón, órale. Mira, tiraron a la góndola ahí. ¿Por qué no se movía de ella? Mira. No hay incendio, oiga, allá arriba. ¿Ya viste? Ey. No, son varios.
Aquí en el crucero del Salto, carretera Chapala, está un taxi, creo que cerrado. No.
Alright guys, what is going on? Welcome to another video of my channel. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to speak about a more serious issue today. We're going to talk about the breaking news that is going on in our neighboring in our neighbors to the south, the country of Mexico. Excuse me. Okay. So it's today the breaking news that Mexican forces launched an operation in Tapalpa, Jalisco. Right, Jalisco, a state in Mexico, deep in South Mexico, where Mexican forces launched this operation against the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, where ultimately the leader of such cartel, or of said cartel, was ultimately killed during the operation. That is being the man that we are talking about is Nemesio Oseguera, also known as El Mencho, right? The famous leader of this cartel. This man was wanted by U.S. and Mexican authorities. It was a high priority target, not only for the Mexican government, but also for the U.S. authorities. Okay, as you see images here as to all the blockades, all the chaos that is going on. You also saw the videos that I showed at the beginning of this video showing the response by the members of this cartel to the operation and to the news that their leader was killed. They responded with violence. They responded with burning vehicles. They responded with taking 18-wheelers away from from their drivers, right? Filling them with gasoline or spreading gasoline around them and then lighting them on fire, as you all saw in the video. International airports in Mexico, some of them. But I know especially the one in Jalisco. They have been attacked as well by this cartel, and have been put on high alert. Okay, several states in Mexico, especially neighboring states of Jalisco, have been put on high alert, or what's called code red, right? So that all law enforcement at all levels are aware that the members of this cartel will be responding, or can be responding, and are already launching certain counterattacks to the law enforcement operations. Okay, so this is a huge operation, and successful operation, I might say, on behalf of the Mexican government, and ultimately by President Claudia Sheinbaum. Huge operation, successful operation. I think that she's going to be able to showcase this as her commitment to battling, or as that's how she was going to sell it, right? This is how she would sell it. Shows her commitment to battling these types of groups and the ongoing violence in Mexico. Okay, so I'm gonna pivot to the actual statement and confirmation by the Mexican Defense Department. Okay, where they confirm the operation, but also they give a little bit more detail as to how many people were injured or hurt, how many Mexican forces might have been hurt as well, and ultimately explain a little bit as to how the death of this leader of the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Nación ended up taking place. So this is in Spanish, so I'm going to go to the same statement, but translated by the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City. Okay, so this is a press release. So through Central Military Intelligence efforts alongside the Mexican National Intelligence Center, Attorney General's Office, Special Forces, right, and the Mexican Air Force, they launched, in other words, just the elite of Mexico launched a special operation, okay, to try to locate and arrest Nemesio Ceguera alias El Mencho, the leader of the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. Okay, during the operation, Mexican military were attacked, and in defense of their physical integrity, they repelled the aggression. This resulted in 4 members of CJNG criminal group dying at the scene, and 3 others being severely wounded, who lost their lives during the airlift to Mexico. Among the latter is Ruben N., alias El Mencho, okay, the leader of Cartel Jalisco Nueva Nación. However, the corresponding authorities will be in charge of the forensic activities to confirm his identification. Okay, so forensic activities to confirm the identification of this leader are still ongoing. Okay, but the Mexican forces are very confident and comfortable with saying that it is him. So essentially, what happened? This operation took place, right? They were attacked or counterattacked by CJNG members, right? Due to the threat that CJNG members posed to Mexican forces repelled the aggression, and in this exchange of gunfire, 4 members were killed. 4 members of CJNG were killed. 3 were hurt, severely hurt. When they tried to airlift 3 of them, the three members of CJNG who were severely injured, they tried to airlift them to a hospital in Mexico City. On the way over there, they did succumb to their injuries. Okay. In addition, 2 other members of the criminal organization were arrested, and various weapons and armored vehicles were seized, including rocket launchers capable of shooting down aircraft and destroying armored vehicles. So, the members, these members of CJNG who were responsible with the security apparatus, and who were the direct bodyguards of this leader, El Mencho, right? They had the weapons and artillery necessary to repel aggressions not only by their enemies but Mexican forces. Okay. Unfortunately, during this military action, 3 members of the institution were wounded and were likewise transferred to medical facilities in Mexico City for emergency medical care. Okay, so 3 members of the Mexican forces were severely injured, and they are currently being treated for their injuries. Okay. In addition to Central Military Intelligence efforts, complementary information was provided by U.S. authorities within the framework of bilateral coordination and cooperation with the United States. All is that to say that the U.S. provided probably intelligence, and who knows, maybe even manpower, maybe even some U.S. forces might have been involved in the operation. I'm not saying that's confirmed, just saying that could also fall under complementary information Okay, so, but it could just be intelligence. Okay, at this time, elements of the Mexican National Guard and Mexican Army troops from the center of the country and states from the center of the country and states neighboring Jalisco are mobilizing to reinforce the security of the state. With these actions, the Secretariat of National Defense reaffirms its commitment to contributing to the strengthening of Mexico's security. Mexican Army, Air Force, and National Guard, the great force of Mexico. Okay, so huge triumph, huge win for the president of Mexico, for the government of Mexico, for the Mexican forces, in collaboration with U.S. intelligence and U.S. authorities. I think this paragraph of U.S. authorities being involved, even if it's just an intelligence matter, a lot of the Mexico's president opposing parties and enemies are going to use that as to try to take credit from this win for the Mexican president. They're going to try to take credit away from her. They're going to try to give all the credit to U.S. authorities. They're going to try to paint it as if it was the U.S. authorities who pressured the Mexican president into doing this. But I think the Mexican president deserves more credit than what she has gotten. Was this some way, somehow a message to U.S. authorities and specifically the U.S. President Donald Trump? Was this sort of a message saying that, hey, look, you've been saying that I'm not serious about strengthening Mexican security, right, and cleaning up things having to do with organized crime and the cartels? Well, look at this, okay? I think that's the way it could be seen, right? And it will be smart for her to sell it that way as well. But I think tomorrow we'll know more, because every morning during the week there's a morning press conference given by the president of Mexico. So I'm sure that tomorrow there'll be a report or more details given out. As soon as I have those details, I will provide them to you all. But let me know what you all think of this operation, of this result. Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? I'll just give y'all my closing thoughts before I forget. This is a huge win for the Mexican president and for the Mexican forces, as I mentioned. Does this help towards, appeasing the country? It does a little bit. It does swing the pendulum to the right direction. But CJNG is such a profitable organization, such a powerful organization, that what's going to happen now, since the head of that organization is gone, what I think is that there's going to be a fight, an internal fight, as to who will now be the leader of the organization. Now, it might be that there's already a pecking order, that maybe a family member or somebody within the close inner circle of this leader will be the next leader. I think not everybody within CJNG will be happy. And I think history has shown that once the head of a cartel is removed, there's usually infighting to determine who will be the new leader. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. I think there's going to be a lot of violence as a result to this, but eventually, it's up to the Mexican forces to control that and be ready for that reaction. So let me know what y'all think. Appreciate y'all tuning in.